So in this video, I want to talk about pre-market and after hours. So I want to talk about why you want to buy pre-market or why you don't want to buy pre-market, and also, looking at after hours, kind of what's the deal, how does it work, what is after hours and what is pre-market. Pre-market, obviously, looking at this chart, you can see here PTIE. So yesterday I had this big gap up. PTIE in the morning was down at like 70 cents, jumps up all the way to $1.20. So almost a 100% jump there after hours. So, but not on very many shares. You can see only 7,000 shares jumps up. So definitely want to be looking for volume when you're buying pre-market after hours. And then also the big thing is just kind of seeing what's really going on, because there's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot less volume in pre-market. Somebody selling off a big amount of shares can really crash a stock pre-market. And then at open, when you get real volume back in there, it can easily just shoot back up. So looking at PTIE as an example this morning, had a bunch of movement this morning. 6,000, 5,000 shares traded, 10,000 shares on the minute this morning. So decent volume pre-market. Came down to $1 area and then kind of went back up, but you can see how that top kind of the same area there at 115. Hits that top pre-market 3 times, 115 area, and then comes back down. You can see here into open, it comes all the way down to $1 again, which was that previous support at 102 here in pre-market, and then shoots all the way up to $1.33. So the problem is a lot of people, if you buy in pre-market, they're going to end up buying, maybe the high of day, not keeping an eye on those resistance and support lines pre-market, and they're just going to, maybe buy in because they see the stock's up big. People who bought here in that 112, 115 area, if they are looking for that big move in at open, looking for that run up into open and then a higher move once we open, the problem is this starts crashing back down to $1. You get 1 million shares traded right there on that open candle, and it comes all the way down to $1. So going from 20,000 shares traded to 1 million shares traded, you had a lot of people who bought in here who got scared and got out for a loss. And then once this kind of stabilizes, hits that 102 support from earlier, and then shoots all the way up to $1.23, and then had a high day at $1.33. So the problem with pre-market is you don't have the liquidity, you don't have the volume, and sometimes these stocks can run up real big in pre-market and then at open just crash right back down. It only takes a couple shorts or a couple people to really push this back down pre-market, make people get scared and sell their shares cheap. I feel like it's been a long time since I've bought a stock pre-market. It's more of a gamble to try to get in and out of a stock pre-market. There's just not that liquidity there. There's not as many buyers. You have a bunch of sellers. Sometimes, just manipulation is very high in pre-market. Work a price down, get a nice short position, and really push the stock down fast pre-market. Trying to think of some other pre-market fails I've seen lately. Here's a good example, TOPS. You can see here on this candle, only 12,000 shares traded, 1,000 shares traded there. So you had a lot of volume here after hours, and then pre-market didn't have much volume. So someone could really manipulate the price there, and that's exactly what happened. So you see you had that high of 287, and it comes all the way down to $1, I think 87, $1.80 area. So big crash there, and you can see it's all going on here pre-market. Everyone's getting scared and selling off. After this big high of day, had a big drop, and then just no follow through, and it just ends up crashing the rest of the day. TOPS there. If you ended up buying there high of day on TOPS and ended up holding it into open and getting out down here at the $2 area, not a good play there. You really got to be careful, like I said, to make sure that you're not buying, these big jumps here pre-market, because the problem is if I had a couple thousand shares and I just put my price up here at 280 and somebody buys it, well, it doesn't mean that it's actually where the stock price is going to really be. It's just, someone was crazy enough to buy that price, and that kind of looks, it jumps up on the scanners, it jumps up on the charts, kind of showing that those shares were sold. Those shares were sold, but obviously looking at level 2, you can see there's no demand for those shares that high. So you really have to be careful. Pre-market after hours is not the same as buying during regular hours. You just don't have the liquidity. Just one of my personal things that I've learned while trading and getting burnt in pre-market and buying stocks that had big news pre-market, then as soon as they open, they just crash down. You got to be careful what you're doing. You got to make sure you know what you're doing. Stay away from pre-market on companies that you have no idea really what's going on, or you see a stock up real big pre-market. Just because it's up real big pre-market does not mean it's going to go up real big at open. The best thing to do is wait for open, see if you get a support area, see if you can get that pullback, and just keep an eye on it. Make sure that there's plenty of volume. Like I always say, you want a ton of volume on these big runners. If there's not a lot of volume, there's a big chance that these stocks are going to come crashing down without the buying pressure to move them higher. You know, everything that goes up really fast can come down really fast. So you have to be careful and make sure that you're playing it safe, because in the long run, it's all about protecting your capital. Always just focus on not losing money. When you think about your trade, just getting into a trade and getting out without losing, that's the best kind of plan. So I hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I got some big things, some new videos I'm working on, some new challenges I want to work on, some stuff. I have a lot of questions from you guys, emails I'm trying to answer. So talk to you guys soon.